Hey, welcome back to the director's commentary. It's been a while since we've done this, haven't we? Last time was, I think, Lobengeyer syndrome, or I think it was Dr. Lobengeyer, but, yeah, it's back, we're back, and today we're going to be doing the commentary for, Disappearance of Jordan Adler, so let's get started. This intro, the reason why it just kind of starts instead of no like studio intro logo. I had demoed the studio intro logo, like I made a custom like personalized one just for this movie, but I don't know, it kind of messed with the pacing a bit, like compared to how slow the opening crawl kind of is, and with how much seconds that the intros would normally take. I decided to just axe it all completely. But it won't be like that forever. I think it's just for this video or for whatever like future films might not necessarily need it. But yeah, and so this was technically this was how I see it, as like the return, the grand return after stuff happened in 2024. A bunch of other stuff moved away from home, but yeah, fuck was kind of like the stepping stone, sort of like demo, I think, for more broad ideas. But this was like a return to form, as I saw it, for just like original story driven Lobengeyer shit, but done better and more coherently. Was my goal, was to make this story very like simple, like easy to follow, because that was kind of a criticism that Lobengeyer syndrome kind of had before, is that they were kind of hard to like follow, like trying to understand the general story. So I made sure that this one was like you could summarize the story in a nutshell and you'd get the gist of it, while still being layered, having different like subtext, different themes, possibly underlying tones, lore, story, world building, which I just like wanted to go to town on. I wanted to really establish the town of Hollow, make it feel like there's some rich history there that you don't get all the details from, because again, the framing of this movie is I see it as a pretty ingenious way to frame a sort of found footage or a horror film, but being the perspective of like a YouTube documentary a la like Night Mind or friggin' Nexpo, Nick Nocturne, all that shit. And so when you watch a video like that of supposed real like horror stories and stuff, you're not going to get the full context of it, assuming like presented like a real thing. You're not going to know all the little ins and outs and details, so I figured I could use that part to my advantage to rather implicate certain details and stuff that happen, but at the same time, like, I wanted to make sure I answered the questions that were absolutely necessary to be answered in order for the story to make sense, but also like not answer certain things that don't really need an answer, and having implications for different things. I really wanted this one to be pretty rewatchable, where you would catch certain details, connect different dots on different rewatches, and it's just jam-packed of just shit. I'm gonna be real. I think I put so much like references, Easter eggs, and like details in each sort of shot almost. Not every shot, but like a good portion of them. But I think that this was probably one of the most compact, tightly knit scripts I think I've ever written. It was very much just me finally learning to, I think, at least take another step into getting to be a better writer, where things get set up. Obviously in the opening, my mom, bless her soul, thank you for doing this, Mom, shout out, but the way she sets up, she was originally supposed to say shivering like hell, but instead she said shaking like hell.
He
But
was like a
it kind
brother
of gets
to
the
me.
same point across when
I
when she
believe he would take a
details the
bullet
story of hearing her grandmother's voice. That is like sort
and
of
I would take a bullet
setting
for
up
him.
later when Max hears Jordan's voice calling out to him from the other side of the bridge, and things get set up. There's foreshadowing. There's like all this other shit, and it's just nice to. It's a nice like tight, compact script, and I was pretty proud of it. I shot it around to the different actors. They liked it. They were on board with it, and I wrote that in I think December, and then filming began in early January. The filming process of this one was particularly sketchy.
His
Normally,
mother was
this movie was
sorry.
filmed at Goatman's
The
Bridge for
barrier
the majority
between
of like the
him
parts
and
of
his father.
the bridge scene at night. That was
Now
all at
that
Goatman's
barrier is
Bridge, and
gone.
I figured
He
since it
would.
was a public place,
I would
sure
have to
there
take a
like
sleeping bag
would
in my
be like
room
other ghost
because he
hunters,
would
people
frequently
like
spend nights at my house.
um just other like content creator or ghost hunter people there trying to do their own stuff. And for the most part, you did have like a lot of chill people there, I won't lie. But then you'd also have like a bunch of like drugged out kind of people, I guess, or like uh, just a lot of sketchy kind of people, and
He
I
went
was
in
not
Adler.
expecting
Did
those
not murder
people
his
to
father.
necessarily be there.
He was at my house
So that was kind of
last night.
interesting.
We were up late playing
There wasn't
games.
a event that kind of
We
two major events
we
that happened
ordered
on
some
set
pizza
that
we
really
like to be
just
playing,
made
and
me
we
like the next time we
talked
filmed
about
we made
videos and
sure
stuff
we
we
brought
talked
someone who
about his
concealed carried,
new
where I got into
findings
like
and recordings about
an argument with one person
ghost
because he was
entity,
clearly dude
whatever
was
the hell
clearly
it's
like
called.
strung out on something, and he was
Then we
indirectly
went to
threatening
bed
me and
at
my
sleepy night,
actors, to put it shortly. And
and police
he was asking for like I
came
think
knocking on
something.
the door.
I told him like hey,
Guys,
here's where you need to go.
everything's
He was asking for directions to get to somewhere, and I gave him the directions, and he was like bringing up like all these other like, dude, I might have a knife or something. I'm like, well, why do you need to bring that up? And short and to the point, I politely told him go over there, send him on his merry way, and then I believe, the other time, this craziest part, right? We heard loud bangs in the woods. I can't describe it other than like sounding like gunshots. We ran like hell, and then the next night we brought someone who was concealed carrying to protect everyone on set. We made sure we brought like actual security the next time to make sure that my actors were not in danger, because that's not my intention with any of them, and they will be compensated for that. But that is not my intention to put actors in danger or any of my actors in danger. It's rather just some unforeseen or consequences that were necessarily out of my control. But I planned accordingly and acted accordingly for future visits on shooting, and we made sure we got what we were supposed to do, and we got the hell out of there. But I think this was also like one of the most, I think,
I
of any of our films,
quite put it
budget-wise, I
into
kind of
words.
spent on, which little kind of upset by that, but
everything that
I
happened,
think
like,
the final
someone was
product
telling me,
definitely paid off.
no, not this
This
time.
is, in terms of
The events
films
that transpired after he disappeared were
of mine that
incomprehensible.
were translated from script
best.
and what I have in my mind and my vision
Like
to
the only
the
thing I
final
could tell you
product.
was
This is
part of
probably like one of
my
them that is
memories
like
of
extremely faithful to
Chalk
what I
Dog.
had envisioned for this
I
movie,
remember
and I could not be
recording,
more proud of it. Like Max right here, or Dylan Duckett, shout out. He was a fucking incredible actor that was one of Ross's friends. We brought him on board to play Max, and he killed it. He was like, he brought so much just like rather sort of, I guess you could say, sympathy for a character without necessarily, you don't know his backstory, but from what he goes through, it's you kind of feel bad for him and you root for him. He's the character you root for. He's the protagonist, and Ross's character Jordan is the main character here. That's Also, the little timestamp, I thought that was kind of a little funny gag, where some YouTube like horror themed videos will like have a timestamp to skip like all the spooky stuff. So I'm like, hey, I wonder, it'd be kind of funny if we put that in here too, where you could just completely skip like the found footage part, and that timestamp does actually skip the whole found footage part, which I thought was kind of funny. But here you got my best friend Gomez right behind him in the last shot, playing Hayden, and he killed it. He was like just so eerie and creepy. My direction to him on set, like before we began shooting, I gave the actors, I decided to actually improve and do something different, where instead of before on like Lobengar and stuff, I didn't particularly give them too much of a description of what their character was, or their backstory, and how they would act. It was rather just, let's do this because the script says it. I give them like bare bones details. Not this time. I gave my best bud Gomez, I gave Roz, Dylan, and Deck like detailed descriptions of their characters and how they act, and any little like question they had about the script or the story or the timeline, I gave them, like, I was very clear and transparent and direct with them and how I wanted these characters to act. My direct instructions to Gomez was just say nothing in these scenes and just look at the camera. That's that, because I think it adds a little bit of eeriness to it. This guy shows up out of nowhere and he's just staring at you, the audience member. He's breaking the fourth wall in a way. It's like he's aware that he's being caught on camera, almost, which later found out, at the end, when it's revealed he's not actually there. And so it's like a big question, like, who is this guy? He will get elaborated more on if we do a prequel, which I have in mind, an idea for a prequel. So right here in the scene at the Portal to Hell tree, I found this concept and the tree itself to be pretty compelling, in the sense that a lot of foreshadowing gets brought up here, that it's just a very creepy tree in general to look at, aside from the foreshadowing where Jordan makes a joke, like right here. He makes the joke of him going to go touch the tree, and then later on in the little post-credit stinger, there's heavy implications to his fate. We'll just leave it at that. But it was kind of a creepy ass tree to be at, like, on set. I'm gonna be like completely honest. I'm not very, superstitious, religious, or believe much of demons and shit like that. It's fun to speculate about, I'll give it that, but like in terms of like me actually believing in that shit, no, I don't really think that. But I will admit, I was a little creeped out on being there at night at the tree, especially one of the nights we were there for filming, where it was almost dead quiet there. I swear to God, dude, it was creepy as fuck. But I really liked this sort of part here where Max finally, the reason he's like so gung-ho and so quick to just start losing his cool and composure is because Max kind of has, you pick up on it throughout the film. He mentions energy, like, this energy is off. I feel like weird energy and vibes from this place. He kind of has like a sixth sense, in the sense that, like, some other people, psychics and shit, they claim to have like a sixth sense to detect paranormal shit. Max kind of has that, and that's kind of why he's like so like, just let's get the fuck out of here. I can't take it anymore. Like, this is gonna be like, please, let's get out of here. And I wanted Max to feel very kind of believable, in the sense that he is the one, like the only other person out of the two-man group here, not counting the third guy, Hayden, to be like, dude, this is kind of a fucking stupid idea. Let's not like fuck with this shit. While Jordan's clearly, eccentric. Has something to prove and wants to be there so badly. He's like the exaggerated sort of character, while Max is more down to earth, calm. I wouldn't say calm, rather just like, he's the everyman kind of person, the everyman half of Jordan's crazier, more eccentric, lively kind of bravado, I guess, if to put it like that. But there was going to be a lot more scenes. We actually do have some legit deleted scenes here. The loop was going to be a lot longer. There was going to be more scenes in there in the loop with them going progressively crazy. The reason why I cut them is because I couldn't find a way to properly splice some of them in between the different scenes without it feeling a little too repetitive. And like, I think this gets the point across while still keeping the film going forward. You get the idea, oh shit, they're in a loop. Let's keep the momentum kind of going here, instead of just like just the same scenes over and over. But like, it's not like they weren't adding something to the story. If they were doing that, then yeah, I would have kept them in. But it was just like reiterating points that were already kind of addressed in previous scenes, and I felt that were kind of redundant in that sense and unnecessary. But I kind of liked how I handled sort of Hayden in particular, in the sense that, or Hayden and Jordan's dynamic, to be specific. Max never acknowledges him because, again, he wasn't physically Hayden wasn't physically there while this was all happening. He's there on the footage, ghostly tampering afterwards. But like the idea of like Hayden says something, Jordan repeats it, maybe giving the idea that maybe Jordan is like possessed in some way, or he's already getting messed with supernatural forces, which could possibly explain why he's so eccentric, even more so in this location. But right here, this part was so fun, to also kind of nerve-wracking to be like dressed up with the eyeliner on our face, me and Brogan's face, with like this dark ass robe. I was originally gonna go shirtless and barefoot with this to keep the consistency of later on in the film where I am shirtless and barefoot and shit, but it was fucking cold that night, dude. Like, I wasn't about to just do all that and look like even more of a fucking like methed out creepy dude in public. So I figured this was just like black jeans look nice. I had a kind of concept in mind too for the cult to have like more face paint or like a mask, but then a better idea came about, and where I could have the excuse of them not having that stuff because
Jordan!
it might get elaborated on, but if you piece together the clues and puzzles from like different shit, you can kind of understand what I'm getting at here, in the sense that maybe the town knows more than they're letting on. But that's all I'll say about that. That part where Ross was actually calling out to Max was really fun to do and interesting, because me right here, you see where the headlamp, Ross's headlamp, was right underneath the bridge. Me and Ross were like right underneath that bridge, while Dylan was up top, so I had to like time it perfectly with fucking Dylan going across and me having to judge audio wise where he's at on the side of the bridge. But right here, that black cloth on that sort of like urn,
Get out of my house!
It's supposed to be like an urn that holds like cremation, and that holds it's a cremation ashes. That's what's in that urn right there. The letter right next to it, we on set, I wrote something on it in pen that doesn't really come clear on the footage here, so I'll just clarify what we wrote on it. Dr. L. If you fucking if you it is exactly who you're thinking it is, and that should, like, if you're a fan of our previous films, that should, like, flare, like, alarm bells should be going off, because that is exactly who it's referencing. That black cloth is supposed to be the same cloth that the cultists wear, and so that hints that the character my dad plays, Frank, might be connected in some way. And I want to leave it blank or a little, like, up in the air whether this part here where he teleported to obviously Frank's house, and then this unknown house, whether it's actually a hallucination, or maybe he's teleported to the afterlife, or maybe it's time travel. I wanted to leave that up in the air necessarily. However, it is one of those three things, but I will not specify which one it is, though I know what it is. Just to clarify and make it seem like, oh, I'm actually trying to be, giving you these different things and not telling you which, because I don't know what the hell it is. No, I planned the whole thing out. This and the prequel that I have in mind, I planned, like, the entire story out. I know how this story ends from beginning to end. I know the entire story. But right here, the idea of this house here is, it is like, nothing in this film is supposed to be, like, at random. Everything has a purpose. Everything is supposed to be connected with something, including this house, which is very different and distinct from the previous house that we saw Frank Adler, get, where he comes in and he's like, get out of my house, and he turns to the side and he says sorry to someone holding a gun at him. That is supposed to be, like, the night that, like, paying off the setup of the night Frank Adler was murdered, though you never actually see who's the one holding the gun. If you look closely, again, nothing goes to waste in this. Everything is connected. Everything has a purpose in this movie. Nothing is just at random. And that's something I really wanted to try and make, like, known for this movie. But right here, this was pretty fun, using a night vision kind of idea. It didn't really pan out as well as I thought it would, but it still looked kind of nice. I wish we got to use it a little more, but I think it's good for what we used it for. But right here, this was a really cool shot right here to actually film. So what I had is I called it the pit stop method, where essentially Dylan started at one part of the trail and he ran to the, like, edge of the where the bridge would begin. He stops, he coughs, I'm, like, off to the side, so he's having to film the ground as he's running, so he doesn't get me in the shot as I'm standing off to the side of the bridge. He stops, he coughs, I grab the fake blood spray and I spray it on his hand, and then he shows it to the camera, which is supposed to imply that whatever he just went through is either messing with his mind, and he most likely got fucking stabbed by the cult people. So right here, if you look closely at Ross really wanted to, I'm just going to, like, not subtly go off to a different topic, because I think it's kind of obvious, but right here, Ross really wanted to wear that Scream shirt as a reference to our previous Scream films, and I thought it was kind of cool, and so it gave me the idea to add more little references to our previous stuff. But if you look on top of his head, he's not wearing a headlamp, obviously implying that this is the real Jordan and not some kind of illusion or fake. But yeah, and the filming here, I originally, the lighting, if you see it moving up and down, on set, we had someone, like, we called it the lamp shift, or someone would actually hold a lamp, like, facing towards him to get some kind of studio lighting, because I had to literally hold a funeral for them. The studio lights that we had from all the way back in 2022, when I filmed, like, for just a bunch of other shit, it finally crapped out, and I cried for days. I literally held a funeral for it. Godspeed, brother. But, so we had to kind of, like, improv here a bit, and I think that it kind of got the point across, looked a little nice. But
I mean,
I liked the sort of setting Max does his interviews on. He's literally backed into a corner with a shadow clearly cast
what
behind
normal
him,
person
which
would
is like
go
cool
back
little
to normal
thematic and
experience?
allegories for later on in the film,
Witnessing.
like
I don't know if I
thematic
witnessed this.
allegory wise, that Max is literally backed into a corner trying to
Feeling
prove his
like
own
your
like
friend's not
mental sanity,
there
that he's not
and the
crazy and that
missing
these
part
tapes are
in
real.
your
And so
mind.
here he's conducting the interview while he's backed
You know,
into
I
a kind of a
couldn't,
corner,
couldn't
and I thought that was kind of cool.
with the lights on.
And the
I
shadow
had
on
the
his
lights
wall
on.
does
I
mean
couldn't get them
something
off.
in the film
I couldn't
that
eat. I couldn't
I
sleep.
probably won't specify per
Damn,
se,
was
but
terrifying.
it does kind of connect with one of the characters, or is supposed to be an allegory for his connection with a certain character in the movie. But yeah, that's kind of all I'll say on that. This is kind of interesting. Again, I had to literally make a bunch of fake digital props, like the fake newspapers and shit, and come up with the lore of trying to really flesh out the town and their backgrounds, including the political aspects of the town, and like different like governing mayors, like scandals and like fucking projects that the town had, like a little history to it, just to really flesh it out and make it feel lived in, like a town that had some history, potential dark, fucked up history, like when Ross was sort of detailing, you know, maybe there's like ghosts of KKK members, implying that the town might have had a racist background, some shit like that. But right here, this was not supposed to be like in the movie originally. In the original script and drafts that we had, the YouTube video portion just fucking ended right there. He would have been like, oh, I guess I have nothing else to really add to it, so I think you all get to theorizing in the comments. I was watching the drafts of that, like it didn't just stay in the drafts, it came up to like eventual rough drafts of the movie, and I was rewatching those scenes, like just like, God, this is so fucking like unsatisfactory. This would not be how a YouTube video like this would end. The YouTuber would give their own thoughts and theories, and so I was so upset when it come to find out that the guy here, Deck, God bless him, he's such a fucking good actor. He was very easy to work with. He was very enthusiastic. I loved the energy he brought to it, but apparently his Discord account got hacked, I think, and it spread a bunch of crypto shit. I'm like, no, not my boy. They got my boy, and so I thought I couldn't communicate with him anywhere else. I thought I lost all communication, so I couldn't add this idea that I had to fix that part of the film. And when I checked on a random day, oh shit, he got his account back. Hit him up. We hit him up with the ideas. I gave him prompts like, hey, this is what to talk about, this is what to avoid, because diegetically someone in this universe would not know about these things that are like supposed to be like for audience to know in the movie sake and theorize about. And we got to theorize. The original draft he had was like 4 minutes long. It was just a voiceover, and I thought, you know what would be cool if he's given his own thoughts, right, and he was just a static narrator in a vehicle for the audience to view the vessel before, and we didn't see his face. When the moment he becomes an active participant in the story from here, where he's giving his own thoughts and theories, right, how cool would it be to actually see his face, to make it feel more personal? And so he was totally cool with it, and we made it. But right here, this part is the actual script for the movie, like the actual real world script for this movie. That is it, and I just had to adjust it, update it. But right here, unboxing movies with me was so fucking cool. I hit him up. I'm like, hey, dude, you want to have a little cameo for this movie? And I saw it as, you know, hey, I cameoed for you in Iceman Part 2, like with trade cameoed in here. Finally paid that off because he was supposed to have one in one of the earlier movies. I think Summerfield and shit. He was supposed to have a cameo, but it never happened. Here, this is like, he finally gets it, and he did a pretty good job. I won't lie. He adds a very good sort of like outsider looking in perspective in that sense. So this was supposed to be the little me right here as Bill Hogan. It's clearly a Joe Rogan parody, right down to the whacked out, stoned fucking face. It's just like, I thought that was kind of funny to do. But I literally had to, in my room, I literally had to, like, rotate my desk, like, 90 degrees almost, just to, like, fucking get it to look like that, so it's not facing a bunch of posters, it's, like, on a wall and shit. But yeah. Also, Braden Beecher from Summerfield's got a little shout out right there. There's tons of Easter eggs and references to previous films if you're paying attention. Clearly setting up the interconnected universe where Lobengeyer Syndrome, Summerfield's, Cases, There Is Nothing, and this movie all take place in the same world. That the approach is not going to be like Marvel, where it's going to lead to like an Avengers or some shit, where you're not going to see like these characters standing next to each other to stop a bigger threat. It's more Stephen King, where these stories just happen to take place in the same world, and some characters might know each other, some might not, but it will never lead to an Avengers level threat. Also, that little image right there is a reference to Ross and Dylan's little channel called Low Budget Games. Right here, the ending I thought was kind of cool, just the way it cuts from that from this part to like the title card, and it was just like boom. The third guy was never really there. Again, the twist is not that was never there, because you know, obviously the moment you see him, you know something's up. The twist is if you pay attention to the credits, you look at his last name, and that implies so much about the story going forward. Just like, what the fuck? And it was just, it was so good. I really liked the themes, the fucking Max trying to prove himself innocent, like as authentic, and going forward from like, you know, belief and skepticism. I didn't realize it. There might be like some kind of undertones in the movie, like some other tones that I don't really want to get into, but like if you're paying attention, you can kind of put the dots together, you can kind of piece it together, which wasn't my intention, of like, you know, possible like racial sort of issues, in terms of like racial undertones, possibly, of like all that shit. I don't yeah. I don't really know what else to say about that, but yeah. There's the cast was also, fuck, man. I'm like, whew. But the cast was all really good to work with. Everyone was such a delight to just communicate with, talk to about all this stuff, and the editing process was pretty good, but the music, I wish we got to do more music, and I wish we got to have more real raw fucking tension inside the woods, where it was maybe like isolated, drawing on suspense. But hey, that might be for another time, I guess. Take that lesson on the head that I didn't get to do that. But obviously, here's the post-credit stinger that sort of leaves the door open and tells you Jordan's fate and alludes to a bunch of other shit. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my incoherent ramblings, otherwise known as a director's commentary. And I wanted to thank you all. Have yourself a good night, and take care, and touch that portal to hell, baby. Woo! Get possessed.